So we can all agree that the year 2025 was a interesting year for Dead by Daylight.
We survive by pulling.
Oz was saying that if we fill up the lobby,
spend our time apologizing, actually spend our time talking about some actions we're going to take to make things better.
We got record-breaking player numbers, chapter that everybody wanted, to the game being at its most miserable state that it's ever been. Which, by the way, isn't very much of a high bar. The game is so fucking miserable all the time. So today, we'll be just talking about the year that we've had. I want to talk about my experiences with Dead by Daylight this year. This is not really gonna be a recap for the year. If you wanna go watch a in-depth breakdown of the year 2025 for Dead by Daylight, I recommend watching Pixel Bush's video. That's really good. It goes really in-depth of the inner workings of behavior. But as for me, I think the year 2025 was a pretty mid-year. We really had some great highs, but some very low lows. We got probably my favorite killer in the game as the form of Kaneki, even though he is miserable to play against as a survivor. And Springtrap is a dream license that we finally got. I still like him, but I still stand by the fact that he is super mid, which is okay. Killers don't have to be S-tier monsters in order to be fun. I mean, hell, we'll play Legion and Ghostface, and those killers are garbage. I've covered Springtrap to death at this point. Multiple gameplay videos, his launch, me singing his praises to me, nitpicking the character to death. I don't want to repeat myself, but I think Springtrap should have been more stronger. His simple kit allows him to be easy to pick up and play, which was probably the idea. But his weaknesses are evident, and him being stuck in C tier is miserable. Playing as him isn't fun. I think Springtrap in general sums up this year pretty well. On the surface, it is a cool new thing with new shiny bells and whistles. But if you look at it a bit deeper, you see that it's heavily flawed. And now that I've successfully pissed off the FNAF fan base, we can move to other things. Kaneki is bad. Is what I would say if I was a complete moron like the 90% of the survivor community. Kaneki is not a problem. He's gotten dozens of nerfs ever since his launch. He is at a balanced state. And I don't like to reiterate, but I think that Dead by Daylight is at its best when the killer is more stronger than the survivors, and Kaneki is that. And obviously I'm speaking with heavy bias. I love Kaneki. I think Kaneki is the best addition to the game since Wesker.
You will give me an egg!
Kaneki's gameplay is everything I want from a killer. It's fast, it's rewarding, and obviously it's not too skillful, I get that, but Kaneki, like many other killers, have tech that allow for more fluid skill expression. And having a killer like that completely gutted just for to be survivor players would be stupid in my opinion. And if we ignore the gameplay aspect of Kaneki, I think we can all appreciate the fact that we finally got anime in Dead by Daylight. The fandom that it brings with it could be questionable, but we will. Adding anime to Dead by Daylight allows it to expand its horizons so much further. There are so many iconic anime characters that you could bring to Dead by Daylight and would work wonderfully. You could give them so many unique powers, and I'm so glad that this finally happened. Yippee! Krasue was a killer that always was gonna have a uphill battle, following up with two major licensed chapters, with one of them being the best licensed chapter that the game has ever had, and being a original chapter, it was basically set up for failure. And well, it kind of flopped. The killer having a power that is wildly considered boring, it is pretty safe with really no new innovations. It's basically just Chucky with a bigger dash. And yeah, I kind of burned that camp too. I haven't seen Krasue ever since she came out. I haven't played as her since she came out. I overall think that the chapter was really boring. I think V as a survivor is interesting, and her having quite good perks was a fun thing. But yeah, I agree that in general, the Krasue chapter was boring. We got 2 survivor chapters this year as well, with Orela Rose and The Walking Dead. Orela was a great addition to the game in my opinion, probably the best piece of original content we've had since Unknown probably. I think it is very nice to have a trans representation in Dead by Daylight. That's a very sweet thing for Behavior to do. Overall, I think her perks are fine. Her lore is actually really interesting. I think it's one of Behavior's better outings lately. And in general, it is just a nice thing to have. And then we got Walking Dead, the chapter that basically broke Dead by Daylight. This was the chapter that broke the camel's back and forced us into the situation we're currently in. Now, I'll try to ignore all of that and just focus on the chapter. I'm gonna be talking about the bugs and the balanced state of Dead by Daylight in another segment, so I'll try to just look at the chapter individually. And what can I say about Walking Dead that really hasn't been said already? I think it's fine. I think that the chapter could have been better with a killer at Negan or the governor with a ability to control walkers or some shit like that. That would have been interesting. The survivors, Michonne and Rick, are fine. I like that they got Andrew in the voice Rick. Shame that they didn't get Michonne's actor to voice the lines, but at least they got the likeness. But I think it is still weird. I think the uncanniness of Rick and Daryl having different actors do the grunts and screaming is super weird. It sounds so uncanny. And the refugee camp that we got as a map is probably one of the worst maps in the game. It is incredibly tiny. It feels like there are no safe loops. Everything feels extremely unsafe, and the map is riddled with useless filler palettes. I do not like it at all. It feels like a test build map. And now that I've covered every major content update that we've gotten this year, I think it's about time we moved to the controversial section, which is Dead by Daylight's balance state and the lack of quality control that the game has. Obviously, I don't mean to attack any of the devs. I'm sure most of you guys are doing everything you can to make the game fit your view of a perfect game. This is just my gripes and some of the community's problems with the current Dead by Daylight, and yeah, hope if anybody sees, don't take this personally. This year has been a rough one. From game-breaking bugs to a update which almost killed the entire killer role, to the game just feeling stale. The fact that we've gotten a Operation Held sort of update with a roadmap to fix problems, but what we've gotten has been controversial change which almost killed the game, to soft fixing it, making it slightly better, but still it not being perfect. It really feels like we delayed everything just to get nothing. The Operation Health idea is rushed. It really felt like behaviors that people were complaining and they quickly pressed the panic button, and now they're trying to scramble something good together. That, by the way, currently it is bad. The game isn't doing well. It hasn't been doing well ever since FNAF. It's been downhill ever since that, and honestly it's been very sad to watch. It is a game that I really like. I got into Dead by Daylight after Twins came out, before Trickster. I met up with a friend who told me to get on Dead by Daylight, told me to download it. I installed Dead by Daylight. It basically changed my life, kinda. I mean, it's made me friends, and probably being the fucking lifeline of my many friendships. I really like it, by the way, that's what I'm trying to say. I weirdly care about it, even though it's doing horribly, as I've said. And seeing the devs, I don't know if it's incompetence or lack of research in their own game, but something just isn't right. The game is desperately trying to be the Fortnite equivalent to horror games. It's trying to be a major live service game so fucking hard that it forgets its core idea, which is funny. I don't know if the reason why we're getting, for example, so many licenses, so much focus on skins nowadays, is it because they're like trying to make revenue? I get that behavior is basically going red every year thanks to their licensing bells, which I get that's a one hell of a fee to pay. And with them now slowly starting to gut old licenses, Halloween with Michael Myers, I'm expecting Nightmare on Elm Street to leave next year, probably Texas Chainsaw Massacre as well, with Bubba leaving to make room for the new cast. I'm assuming next year is probably gonna be similar to this one with more licenses, probably getting like Art the Clown next year. Which honestly, I'm not even mad about. I like licenses. I'm not in the crowd who thinks licenses are a detriment to Dead by Daylight. I think it is the coolest thing about the game. That's what basically got me in the game, with my friend telling me that they got Stranger Things and Dead by Daylight. But it is just not the same currently. And I get that we're getting a Stranger Things sequel, which I probably should be excited about, but that has its own controversies with Stranger Things and its actors, and that's a whole other can of worms. And I don't really know like how I feel about that. Obviously, it is just a video game at the end of the day, and seeing how behavior manages it. But I'm also not in the crowd that thinks that Dead by Daylight is gonna die or anything of that sort. I think that is just overly negative. Dead by Daylight has survived probably worse before, with like, I mean, what's it, like Prime Dead Hard meta, that probably was worse. The Resident Evil chapter launching with like the game not functioning for half the player base. Dead by Daylight has survived worse, and it'll survive this one, honestly. It'll probably like dip in Steam player count again, probably gonna be averaging like 30 to 20k players on Steam, which sucks probably, but it'll be alive. We can't capture another FNAF moment. When the player count peaked at 100k, we're not gonna get that, not anymore. Unless they pull like some major ass license like fucking FNAF 2, which is probably in development, honestly, as we're speaking. They're probably gonna mimic. The point I'm trying to make here is that Dead by Daylight is gonna get worse, probably before it gets better. It's probably gonna be worse for years now. Yeah, I feel like it's gonna be a while till the game actually is good. And there is also another like point at like what is considered good for Dead by Daylight. Because some say it should be this and that, but there's also a bias to it. I'm guilty of that too. There's the bias of killer players, bias of survivor players wanting the game to be something that they prefer. You either appeal to the other side or you don't. It's that simple. There is really no gray area. Behavior is trying desperately to catch that gray area. I know many people are saying that behavior is trying to prefer survivors, which to an extent they are, because that is the most played side. Those are the biggest contributors for people uninstalling Dead by Daylight. They've said that themselves. So obviously they want to try to make so that people don't uninstall Dead by Daylight. They want people to come back to it. They'll throw a bone for the killer players every now and then, but we just gotta like stick it out. I don't know if I have faith by Daylight, honestly. I think behavior this year has fucked up. They haven't been doing great. And I think people shelling for behavior are kinda eh. And with the Fog Whisperer, which is like the creator program that they're doing, which blocks if you criticize behavior in any way, you get kicked out. I've seen that happen. So I don't know. I really hope behavior isn't trying to cultivate a toxic positive environment. And with the 10th anniversary coming up and us probably getting Jason, honestly, or some big license like that, I feel like it's just gonna silence the crowd of haters, I guess. Well, heavy quote marks haters. But I think if you're trying to drown out all the criticism of the game with fancy licenses like Stranger Things and, as I said, probably Jason, and people are gonna eat it up. They eat the Stranger Things chapter up if you work anywhere people are hype as fuck about it. They announced it like a month earlier. That's what happened with like Trickster and Resident Evil as well. Big licenses get hype. And obviously you can't keep that hype up forever. Unless you do more licenses, which they are probably doing, but whenever they run out of big names, I think it just, I don't know, it is very, Dead by Daylight's future is unstable. It's not gonna die, but I'm not sure it keeps evolving either. But I think the DBD movie might be a saving grace for Dead by Daylight as well. Whenever that movie comes out, if it ever comes out, I don't think it's been like, it's in development, but I feel like it's in development hell with indefinite hold currently. If it manages to be something like Arcane, if we're lucky, it'll get people playing at least. To know Dead by Daylight for its original content instead of the game which has Ghostface and Springtrap. And Dead by Daylight's identity is also a topic which I'm kind of divided on, but many say that like DBD is losing its identity, which is kind of true. But I think that Dead by Daylight's current identity is the game with all the cool horror characters like Springtrap, like Ghostface, like Freddy. It's that game. It's no longer just the asymmetrical horror game. So trying to like wrap everything up in a neat bow, I think Dead by Daylight will be fine going forward. Obviously, the gameplay itself could be varied from dog shit to absolute fucking peak. I think we're all used to that by now. This year obviously wasn't complete dog shit. We got Kaneki, my favorite killer in the game. Springtrap was cool from like a period, I guess, but I still play him even though he is mid as fuck. I just hope DBD manages to be a good game again. Alright, if you managed to get this far, I really appreciate if you could like and subscribe as well. This was a funny thing. I know at the end it kind of devolved into me rambling, but those are some thoughts I want to get out about Dead by Daylight and its current state. And as I said previously, I still fuck with Dead by Daylight. I think it's a fine enough game to play. I still play it regularly. Not, yeah. It just doesn't look good for the future, if I'm being honest. But it'll be fine. Obviously, I will be playing the Stranger Things chapter that's on the pipeline. I will try to get probably another video out before the end of the year. If not, then Happy New Year and Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. I really hope you guys stay safe, have fun, and yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye bye.